Has your laptop ever done that? Just turns down
I don't know,
the
bro. I
volume on its
can
own?
can never figure that. Can you hear me now?
Oh wait, yeah, I got you now.
Oh me.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
far out. Sorry, bro.
Good. All good, bro. How
Yeah,
are
no, couple it is. Yeah,
you?
no, all good.
Yeah. How long you been back home now?
Um, it's been 2 months, I think. It's gone pretty quick. I got back uh, mid-March and then did the 2 weeks of quarantine. And yeah, I've been out in the open since.
Oh
Finished my exams end of last month, so I'm
yeah.
truly free now once I finish those. But yeah,
Well, how was
it's good to be out.
the 2 weeks in isolation?
No, it was nice. They looked after us. I mean, 2 weeks on your own kind of sucks, but I think we were pretty lucky with all the workers and the stuff that they put in for us. And I was in a nice spot as well, so I was like right in the city, and I could see all my mates from down below, and they could like wave out and stuff. So that was nice, and food was good. Um, no, I think we're pretty lucky with the system and keeping us safe. I mean, the 2 weeks does suck, but
Yeah.
they looked
But
after
your
us. So.
mates came out and you
Yeah,
see them
yeah,
through the window?
yeah. And they dropped off some care packages with some food and whatnot. So it was nice to be around the city where all my mates are. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah, man. We're me and my girlfriend just booked our flights for September the 4th. And yeah, we'll do the
Okay.
2 weeks. Yeah, yeah.
True.
Like it's crazy that you're just like living normal life now.
Yeah. As soon as I got out of quarantine and went into a supermarket for the first time, or grocery store, um, it just like seeing everyone so close to each other without a mask was kind of a shock to me, just because that's what I've been used to for the past year or so. So yeah, that was crazy, and I kind of just by instinct tried to avoid everyone.
Yeah,
Kind of looked like a freak, I think, but um, yeah, it took a little bit to adjust to, but it's so nice getting back to reality, I guess, in
yeah,
our own little bubble here in New Zealand.
yeah, man. You
Yeah,
so what are you up to then? Like the rest of the time? Are you coming back next year or?
yeah. So I'm back in August, I think. It's looking like we're having a full season, well, somewhat of a full season, so I'm excited for that. But yeah, at the moment I'm just finished my exams, so I'm looking at getting my personal training certification, so I can start working with some clients and um, do something I'm pretty passionate about, which is being in the gym and helping people out. So I'm really excited for that. It's just a big exam I need to pass to get that certification and carry on forward, so I can progress with that. But I think I'm not here too much longer, so I won't be able to get too much mahi. But that's good to set up for when I'm back next time as well. Yeah,
Yeah, so just trying to save and have a
yeah,
bit of fun while you're there.
yeah. And there's
Where are
lots of
you now?
volleyball here as well. I'm in Auckland, so
Okay.
I'm living in Auckland, close to my club team players, and we have IPC and stuff going on, which is pretty cool. We get lots of practice with a bunch of different teams, so it's nice to have volleyball in full swing here.
Yeah.
Club season hasn't started up just yet, but we've been able to get some good training sessions in. So it's nice being able to go all over Auckland. I think it's the place to be for volleyball here in New Zealand. Well, probably in the world as well, because we just have so much going on, and I have my friends back in Canada not being able to leave their house, which sucks.
Yeah, man. It's nuts out here. Like seeing all the snaps from back home, just like it's hard to watch,
Yeah,
man. Like you see 660 concerts and it's
it
like
was huge. Yeah,
thousands of people and um yeah. So you mentioned players. How did you get involved with them?
yeah. I played for Mobile Warriors, which is a team based in Tauranga, my last year of high school, and then I moved up to Auckland for a year of university, and I was kind of looking for a club, and I knew some of the players guys just from being around the volleyball scene, and it wasn't like I was recruited. I just kind of always had an interest in their team culture and what they were all about. So kind of just started, went to a few practices with some mates that were already going, and I don't know, kind of got introduced into the brotherhood, and we've just been tight since. So I I'm glad that I made that choice to jam with them, and that's been since I've been with them for a couple of years now. based out in Aotearoa. We train in Manurua. So it's nice to have that team here in Auckland. We get a couple training sessions a week and then play in the weekends. So that's pretty much how it started, and it's just a pretty tight mesh group. And that's what I like about it. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. Way back, how long I've been gone from Auckland, like nearly 10 years now. But Players was always like the hypest team in the city,
Yeah.
probably in the country. Eh? Like, just all Islanders. Like,
Yeah,
it's
bro.
so different to hear, man. Like, I watched some videos of them at nationals from a couple years back. I think playing in the semifinals. You were in that, right?
Was this in Wellington?
Might have been. I just remember seeing like the hypest celebrations ever. Like, one dude gets a point, and the guys are all running around the court going crazy.
Oh yeah. I think that was our Auckland semifinals. We lost that game,
Okay.
but it was crazy. The energy was unreal. But that's what I love about it. Just the energy that they bring. You don't really get that anywhere, so it's fun.
Did you miss that coming out here up north?
I kind of brought like my own flavor to the game when I came over there with my celebrations and stuff. So I think that was a big part of my identity, just having that part still with me. So even though I wasn't there all the time and they don't celebrate us the same way and get as hype, I think I got to carry that on and share it a bit with the boys over there. So I did miss it. It's a part of the game that I love, just that energy. But I think Canada has its own sort of energy, and that's fun as well. Yeah.
Yeah, man. What were immediately like when you came out? Well, first of all, how did you even come out here? How did that work out?
So through high school, I was looking at the States initially. I was kind of putting myself out there to schools in the US, getting recruited by quite a few teams. But it was my last year of high school, maybe my first year of university here in New Zealand. I had a FaceTime with the two coaches from University of Alberta, Brock Davidoff and Terry Dennock. And straight after that call, I looked at my dad and I was like, far up, maybe Canada's the spot. Like, I was never considering it, So just how genuine they were. I never knew about their team history as much. It's not as known in the volleyball world, I think. So learning a little bit more about that and what they had to offer, and how similar they are to Kiwis, I think was a big striking factor for me. So that made a big difference. And then kind of just committed to them because it all decided to work out in our favor. Didn't get a visit in, so I hadn't seen any of Canada before my first visit when we started 2019. But looking back now, I'm really glad that it all worked out because I think we have a great team and I'm just loving my time there. It's a good atmosphere to be in.
You ended up in a sick program. I remember because I don't know if you might know some of these guys, but you know Ben Glue.
Yeah, bro.
Ben Glue, yeah. Sam Tuivai. Who else was out here? Like
Roy Ching,
yeah, like all Brandon guys. But when I was growing up, when I was in high school, like I had seen those guys out in Canada, and that's the only reason I knew that there was any opportunities out here. So
well, they were good too, eh? Those Brandon guys.
They were dope, man. I think they got third at nationals. And I'm pretty sure that after those guys, because at that time you could have 3 internationals in what was then the CIS.
Oh,
so
true.
I think you could have. I mean, in the college where I played, you still can have 3. I think college ball would like suffer without 3 internationals, especially in Alberta. But I'm pretty sure that after those guys left, they instituted a rule or kind of voted on a rule that you can only have 2 internationals. So that hurt those like smaller market teams, I guess. Like Canadians don't really want to go out to Brandon, man. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to get guys out there, but internationals are just like, whatever. I'll go ball out in the Wops, bro. Like,
Yeah.
So
Well, they have a few Australians. They've had a few Australians the past couple of years that have competed well. Brandon's not. It's not terrible. Like it's a
I've never been, so
rural
maybe I
city.
shouldn't talk smack.
I mean, no, we had fun the night after. I remember that. But it's a good. They have a good crowd out, and I think the team's really celebrated in Brandon, so they have a nice community that supports the team, which is
huge.
Which is huge.
Liam Matheson was out there too.
Yeah, man, he's awesome.
So, what I was saying is, like, I remember being in Calgary and seeing on Facebook this kid Billy Johnstone is coming out to U of A or something. It's like, oh man, finally another Kiwi coming out here, because I feel like when I was younger there was a bunch of Kiwis coming through, but I don't know. I think it's important that I actually watched an interview of you on YouTube or something, and you were kind of mentioning that you want to grow volleyball in New Zealand. It's important to see guys out there. So I think it's pretty big that they see a face like yours out there too.
Yeah, bro. Hopefully some kids start making that move towards Canada, because myself, I never knew about the opportunities in Canada, and then it took a little bit to fully recognize what was possible over there. So I think the movement is the states, and sure, like there's a lot to offer there, but I think Canada has equal opportunities, if not more, for the youth especially. So I think anything that can boost what's known about Canada and volleyball in that scene is good. So hopefully it starts making a big impact in New Zealand, and people start making that move.
Yeah, man. Like, I think Canada has more opportunities. The States has pretty good quality, but there's more scholarships and spots for internationals. But what I wish Canadians, or like Canadian volleyball or US volleyball would could see is that, like, New Zealand's this little gem of hidden talent, bro. You know what I mean? Like, there's some crazy athletic kids down there. And there's just not opportunities. Like, I think of some from your high school, from Western Heights, some of the guys coming out of there, like Taylor Kahu and Junior Tyre come to mind.
They've been crazy.
Yeah. But you know, rugby's there or other things are there. It just takes over volleyball. So but I mean, I haven't been back in a while. But what do you think of volleyball in NZ right now?
Well, like, growing up in the volleyball scene, it was all kind of the same in terms of systems and strategies and coaching. So I think I was used to that, and I don't know if too much has changed in terms of the way we approach volleyball. I've talked to coaches that are higher up in the scene, and I know they're trying to make differences to the way we play volleyball and how we approach it at an international level. So I think it's heading in the right direction. But being fully immersed in the Canadian system, I know that it's way more systematic, and their approach to the game is way more, it's way more systematic, but they can break it down to the finest details. And it was basically like learning a new game to me. That's what my whole experience was about. It wasn't see ball, hit ball, it wasn't just chuck the ball up and hit it. It was kind of break it down to the little details, analyze your opponents, make a game plan, and then kind of act accordingly to every situation that comes to you. So I think if New Zealand can start heading in that direction with the right coaching and guidance, I think with our crazy talent that you mentioned, I think we could be really dangerous on the world scene. So I'm hoping we get to that point, man.
Yeah. What were some of the biggest, like, because I had the exact same reaction when I came to Canada. Like, oh shit, volleyball is kind of mathematics in some ways. You know what I mean? It is systematic, like you said. What were the biggest adjustments you had to make right away?
Well, I remember it was preseason, and coach gave us this. It was like a little document, and it was a game plan against one team. I was like, "What is this?" I'm used to just turning up and just playing. So I think that was the biggest learning curve, is that there's so much more that goes into it, from stuff like set of tendencies, where to serve when so and so is here, attacking of tendencies, just like the little minute details, stuff like in this rotation, if this player doesn't get here, then it's most probably going here to kind of stack this way. These little things I never thought about, and it was kind of just, it was always react for me, kind of, oh, he looks like he's not ready to hit, I'm going to go this way, or the ball's going this way, I might go that way. It was never the thinking component that kind of developed over my first and second year. So that was the biggest learning curve. And now I have like a different approach to the game. I kind of analyze it more and think more before I act, if you will. So it's crazy what it's done for me mentally, but I hope this can be passed on, because it's crazy. It's literally a different game, and it's amazing, man. I love it.
Yeah, man. You got pretty lucky in that you ended up with two of the best coaches in Canada. Yeah. They're definitely up there. How was that? What kind of relationship do you build with those guys?
Yeah. Terry, being the legend in volleyball that he is, it's pretty crazy to be in the same gym as him. I never knew about his legacy, but I was soon to find out how much of an impact he made on the game. It was actually his first year, not as head coach, when I joined. So Brock Davidoff was coming into the scene, and that transition went really smooth. I think Brock did an amazing job of looking after us, and Terry was always there to support. But it was kind of, since it was a transition year, Terry had to take a little step down to just let that process kind of occur naturally. So Terry sometimes wouldn't be there on the trips, but he'd be there every practice, and he was always there, giving his 10 cents. He wouldn't speak as much, but when he did, it was always just something that kind of just blew your mind. It was so knowledgeable. But Brock did a crazy job of leading us in his first official year as head coach, and just having those guys as resources, along with all our other assistant coaches. It's insane the resources we have readily available to us, and also the contacts they have. I think that's a big thing for us. Is a lot of us have ambitions of playing professionally one day, so having the knowledge and resources available to us in that domain is, I think that's huge as well. And I think, yeah, I'm definitely really lucky to have amazing guys like that on board with me.
And when you first met your teammates, were they pretty intrigued about where you're from, your background, all that stuff?
They didn't know too much about New Zealand.
Oh, really?
I think they knew about sheep and Australia, so that was kind of the thing. But no, I think I gelled well with the guys. They were really welcoming, and we have a solid team culture going on. So once they learned a little bit about where I'm from and what I'm about, it all worked out for itself. But
what about
they're used to the Aussies, eh? They know there's quite a few Aussies over there.
Well, on that note, like, Aussies don't have the best reputation in the volleyball world as being chill guys. I think Kiwis are pretty chill. Most Aussies that have come over have been pretty hard up. So I always try to be like, I don't associate with them, man. They're my friends, but we're not like that.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm the same.
What about just Canadians in general? Like, did you have many people see your tat and be like, "Oh, you're from New Zealand," or hear you talk?
I think no, the accent was typically taken up as Australian. The tat they never knew too much about, so they asked questions, and I was happy to explain. But they don't know too much about New Zealand. I'd say my close friend group knows a lot now because they have to deal with me. But I found that the team culture really welcomed me in, and it was an easy transition. But now it's I'm just comfortable around the guys and happy to not be just another Australian, you know. Add something a little different to the mix.
And your background's Maori, right?
Yeah. Bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you miss having that around, or having your culture around?
I think that was the biggest learning curve for me, or shock, I guess, was not being around Kiwis and Maoris all the time. But yeah, like I said, the Kiwi and Canadian culture is pretty similar in some aspects, from like mannerisms to humor to just how they go about life. So I think that transition was easy, and with modern technology, it's pretty easy to stay in touch with all my bros and back home and all the whānau. So pretty lucky there to just have that available and stay connected with everyone. Otherwise, I think that the move overseas is tough for anyone. Like moving across the world to somewhere you've never been can be pretty daunting and quite a long process. But I think I was in the right spot for it to be a nice transition.
Yeah, bro. I feel you on that. I would always try, like my first year, I'd be on the lookout for islanders or somewhere and look at this guy and oh no, he's Mexican. So I went up to this one guy. I'm in Toronto now. I went up to this one guy. I was like, "Hey, bro, where are you from?" He's like, "Here." I mean, what's your background? He's like, "Oh, I'm Filipino." I was like, "Oh, never mind, man. All good."
I saw
So you're
some
an
fellow
islander.
with a Warriors jersey in a club in Edmonton. I was like, "Hey, oos," because he looks Samoan or something. And he's like, "Oh, hey, bro, I'm from here." Ratchet. He's like, "Yeah, my cousin's Samoan though. I think he's from New Zealand." Oh, sorry, bro. So every little moment, and like places like Banff, you see quite a few Kiwis out and about that live in the work in the ski fields and stuff. So I think spots like that, it's pretty easy to find people from home, and it's always nice and refreshing to see that. I think.
Yeah, it's nice to hear the accent, and then I realized how much I've totally lost my accent when I talk to them, even talking to you right now. But those guys at Banff always asking me how to say, okay, how have you been there so long? Like, get a student visa. Stop asking me. I'm not trying to sponsor you, man.
There's heaps in Banff. I think that's the spot, eh?
Yeah, 100%. Do you ever have anyone ask you if you can do the haka for them?
Yeah. Every straight up. Yeah. Or they'll mock it or something. But it's all love. They try to get me to teach a few things. We actually read a book called we read a team book every year. And we read a book called Legacy. It's about the All Blacks and stuff.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah. So there was a few things on like Maori pronunciation, which I got to help the boys with and teach them a little bit about our culture and stuff. So it's cool that they incorporated that. That was in my first year, so that was pretty cool. And I got to teach them a little bit about myself and my background. So yeah, they do get me to do the haka. I don't. I'm not doing a solo haka to the boys,
not, bro.
but
No, man.
I'll show them some clips. Yeah.
That's what I do. I like search it on YouTube. You can see us doing the haka when we were on the volleyball team. Just search it. Like,
yeah.
And if I did do the haka in front of you right now, it'd be pretty awkward, man. You're gonna stand through or like pukana? Like, come on.
They'll give me a pukana back. They know that one well.
So what I've noticed on social media from back home is in NZ is a lot of emphasis on pronunciation with Maori words in the language, which growing up, even our prime minister at the time, John Key, couldn't pronounce any Maori words properly, or even my principal for a bit couldn't. So how's that been for you? Have you seen a noticeable difference, or
like just being around New Zealand?
Yeah,
I think even around my friend groups, I have a pretty diverse friend group, and just seeing like even just putting a little bit more effort into to make that that little change in your pronunciation, or even researching how to pronounce the vowels and stuff. I think that's progressing, and I do have my main friend group is Maori, so we've always been pretty tight knit and showing that appreciation for Maori pronunciation. But even in my diverse range of friends, I think that's progressed recently, and even on TV you see that progression, and even in Canada actually, they're always really careful about what they're saying, and they check with me first or something about, oh hey bro, how do you pronounce this? And I'm like, oh whakatane, and they're like, hey, so like little things like that. But yeah, I think in my short time home, I've seen like little progressions, and you see that on social media as well. It's a big movement, and I think it's for the best, because those little things are just out of respect for what Maori have done for New Zealand, and place names, like they're everywhere. I think the smallest thing you can do is just try to learn how to pronounce those words correctly.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I saw on your Facebook's post NZ Maori volleyball. I haven't heard of anything about that. What's up with that?
Yeah, so that's a new. It's new. It's coming up. I think we had the first camp. It was 1 month ago. They had another camp recently, and they're kind of making a new league for Maori and providing opportunity for Maori around New Zealand. I think it's a great movement. The camp was awesome. They stayed on a marae in Hamilton, and we had 2 days of training. I drove down for the weekend and got to meet a lot of them. I think it's cool what the coaches are doing. Really, that shows that they really care about all the tamariki and what they're up to and what their goals are. But I like the coaches that they have on board. Ngakuhu, Leanne, they've had some coaches like Des and a lot of players like Tommy Malcolm come through and give their mentorship. So I think that's on the rise. Ngakuhu actually gave me a Maori volleyball hoodie to rep when I go to Volleyball New Zealand events. So kind of spreading the exposure there in that way. But I'm excited to see what happens there. I think they're having a nationals of some sorts. Not too sure when exactly, but I think that'll be cool to watch and look out for. So that stuff can all be seen on Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, so actually last December of 2019, I went with my coach and our captain. My coach, no, 2020, but 2019, I'm lost. We went up to Northern Ontario to a remote reserve, so all Indigenous, an Indigenous reserve, and just taught some volleyball for the weekend. But when I was chatting with him, I found out there's like Indigenous games in North America, and so all Indigenous communities from around North America come together and they put teams together. It's like the Olympics for Indigenous people. It sounds pretty sick. And I was like, could someone from New Zealand put in a team of Maori? And he's like, oh, 100%. That'll be dope. So I was like, oh, maybe we could organize that one day, or have like a Pacific Island team or something like that. Couldn't do that now because of the bloody pandemic, but that would be mean, bro. It changes every year. It's like it's always in North America though, but they have a different spot each year.
Okay.
I mean, who knows when that stuff like that will happen again, but maybe we could organize that.
Even after the camp was finished, we were having a cup of tea just to kind of reflect on the weekend, and they were just talking about all these cool opportunities that were coming up, and there was stuff all around the world that they were looking at, kind of spreading exposure and giving you avenues for Māori in New Zealand. So I think something like that would be awesome, and to take that opportunity if it was to show itself. So I think any information you can get, I think it'll be positive, and they'll definitely look at it.
Yeah, man. So you recently were one of the top picks in what is it called? The NVL, National Volleyball League in NZ. What are you guys doing to prepare for that, and what does that look like? And this is the first time this has ever been done, right?
Yeah, it's the first time. It's pretty exciting. I think it's going to be a good showcase for the talent here in New Zealand. There's 4 teams around New Zealand. one based in the South Island, one based central, one kind of Midlands area, and then the Northern Zone. So I'm playing for the Northern team, which is pretty nice because they drafted players from around. Well, the drafting strategy was kind of to draft players around the Auckland zone so we could actually get some practice in together. So we have our first training session today, actually, and then one again tomorrow. But it'll be nice to get the boys together and get some proper sessions in, because I know some of the other teams have players from all around New Zealand, so it might be difficult to get some practice in. But I'm excited for what that league is going to look like, and I think it's going to be good for the development of volleyball in New Zealand, kind of showcasing what we have to offer. And I think it's going to be televised. I think they're pushing for as much attendance as we can. But I think it's a great idea. And I don't know, I think it might take the place of IPC in the future. I don't know. It's kind of the similar thing, maybe on a bigger scale, but I think they're doing a good job. I'm excited. I think that the teams are looking strong. So it's going to be some good competition for sure.
Yeah, man. I saw all the names that I saw I pretty much recognized, and most of those guys have played out here or in the States or professionally. And yeah, like we said before, and New Zealand's got some talent, and I think it needs to be showcased. I do agree with you that there's no real systems in New Zealand, like C-ball, hip ball, just like you said.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think something needs to be done there, and it's got to come from the NZ or coaches, or got to be top down. But I don't know, man. From when I was growing up playing volleyball out there, from what I can see on social media, everything looks like it's trending in a pretty good direction. Last I heard, they were putting more emphasis on beach volleyball, or maybe that was Australia, or maybe both. Did you get to catch any of the O'Day brothers playing in Cancun?
I haven't been able to catch any of it, but I've been tracking their progress on social media and stuff, and it looks like they were doing pretty well there. But I don't know. I'm not too into the beach scene, so I don't track it too much. But I'm aware of the O'Day boys and what they're doing out on the beach, and it's pretty crazy the level that they're playing at. And I watched when I was in isolation, I watched Alani play. I was watching him. They were tracked it on Sky Sport, I think. So that was pretty cool. But other than that, I don't watch too much beach, and I don't know if they're putting an emphasis on it or not. But I know that we have quite a few guys competing internationally, which is pretty sick.
So you never considered making the switch?
I'm too slow on the sand, eh? Or maybe one day when the knees need a little break from the indoor court. But nah, I love the indoor game. I can't jump on the sand. It sucks. I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, bro. So this year kind of threw a wrench in things. How did that work for you guys, COVID wise? When did you find out you weren't playing, or how did that go?
Well, we got to nationals in my first year, and it was the day before our first game that we found out that we weren't going to be having a nationals. I think it was the day that the NBA season was cancelled as well. So we kind of knew what this pandemic was looking like. And at that point, I think there was one case in Edmonton where I was living, and we were kind of freaking out about that one case. So it's pretty crazy to look back and see how it's all transpired. But we knew over the following summer that the season last year was going to be looking a lot different for us. We weren't entirely sure that it was going to be completely canned how it was, because we didn't know the pandemic was going to be what it was. So I think it took a lot of planning from our coaching staff, and we didn't have a season, but we got to get a lot of practice and gym work in, a lot of team time stuff. So despite the restraints that the pandemic gave us, we got to have a lot of time together, and I think we developed as a team. Our main team goals were to, number one, stay safe and keep everyone around us safe, but also to take every opportunity to develop for the next season, and whatever opportunity we had to play, kind of make the most of it. So I think we did a good job in that domain, and that's all credit to our coaches and the sacrifices they had to make for for us in that year. So it was tough, but I think we were relatively lucky to be able to play some ball and actually get some development in. So yeah, I think we went well.
In your first year, who were the best teams, or who was the biggest matchup that you played against?
Trinity Western. They, I think we knew that they were the number one team in the country, and they were just crazy to be up against. We battled them in the Canada West final, and it was, I wouldn't say it was close, but they gave us a little bit of a hiding. But we knew we were going to come up against them in nationals again and look for some revenge, which unfortunately we didn't get to that point because of COVID. But they were a crazy team, and UBC. Brandon unfortunately had some injuries at the end of the season that started lurking, but UBC, we battled with them in the semi-finals and made it through to the Canada West finals, which was our only way into nationals because we had 2 spots available with it being hosted in Manitoba. So we had no choice but to make it to those finals and get to nationals. So Trinity Western, they were powerhouse. I don't know how they're looking next season. I think quite a few of the guys are returning. But I want to say that UBC perhaps is probably going to be our biggest competition, with pretty much the same team that we came up against in those semi-finals.
Yeah, those are 2 huge teams, man. How did you feel, like, nerves wise, moving in from NZ to now big kind of televised games or streamed games? Or how'd that feel?
I don't know. I think it was pretty smooth. I kind of live off the energy that comes from around me, and the crowd energy and stuff kind of just motivates me to I don't know, just bring it to another level. So I kind of thrive off that. There were moments where it's obviously like really nerve-wracking in the intense moments, but I think being around the older guys and seeing them take on those challenges kind of helps you. So I don't know, we had some huge moments last year, but the whole thing about being televised, that's insane. Like, you're used to having like a little live stream on Facebook back in New Zealand, and then your stuff's all on TV and stuff in Canada. It's pretty insane, eh?
What's probably your favorite moment from that season?
I want to say our 3rd game against UBC in the semi-finals, because that was a do or die for us to make it to nationals. We ended up beating them, I think it was in 4 sets to qualify for nationals, and I think we haven't missed a nationals in 20 years or something. So we did not want to be that one team that kind of stopped that streak going. So I think that was a huge moment for us, and looking back, that's probably my favorite moment.
When I moved, one of the biggest things that I wasn't used to in the games was being chirped, was the crowd yelling and talking smack and like screaming while you're serving. Did you have any funny chirps that the crowd yelled out to?
I think it was in Sask. We were playing University of Sask, and they were like, I think they were yelling out sheep shagger or something, or like sheep sounds. Or no, or maybe they were calling me Aussie. I don't know. They're doing stuff to try to get to me, and I don't know what they were trying to do, but I think it just hypes me up more, getting those little chirps. But a lot of my teammates got chirped because they know them on a personal level. So it's things that might hit them a little bit deeper down. But they're good at that. That's something that you don't get as much here in New Zealand, the chirps. And you get randoms from the crowd doing it. You get parents sometimes.
Parents are sometimes the worst, man.
Yeah, they're unreal.
I remember one game, it was at Ambrose, which is a Christian school, not that matters, but this one dude just kept yelling out Maui to me because of my tats. He kept calling me Samoa, and I was like, man, I'm a hothead. It's but my biggest weakness. And I just walked up to the crowd. I was like, who's calling me Maui? And I was like, is it you? This other guy's like, the guy next to him, he's like, it was me. Puts his hand out. Like, I'm really sorry, man. I'm like, that's not funny. But I walked off. But I told my coach, he just kind of laughed. He's like, wow, he's pretty cool. It's pretty racist, coach. Come on. Nah, he got it. He was pretty understanding. But that stuff like that, I had no patience for. But the other stuff, I think another time a guy, I think we were at provincials or something. He had tripped every single guy that had gone back to serve. And I think I started in 5, so I was the last around.
Yeah.
And they were really good trips, man, just like top quality. We're in Red Deer. And then I went back and the guy was like, yeah, we're not going to chirp you, man. I was like, what? I've been prepping for this. Dude's like, yeah, man, you're a pretty big guy. We're not going to say anything. And I went back. My hand was shaking. I've been preparing for this, man. I served like straight into the net.
No way. You were prepping for it. They put you up and they didn't.
Yeah,
That's
man.
Tough. That's tough.
So next few years, you're looking to graduate and keep playing, or?
Yeah. So I didn't lose a year of eligibility last year, so I would have another year if I decided to do that. But I think that's kind of a situational thing. I'll see how that goes after my 5 years. But maybe look at going pro or something if that opportunity comes. I think it'd be cool to travel and play ball without the study component, so I can just focus on that. But I think eventually I do want to move back home and be here permanently. You can't beat it. So that's my long-term plan so far. But I'm always changing my mind. I wanted to be an astronaut when I was a kid, but that's not looking probable at the moment.
You get pretty high, bro. You're not far off.
Hopefully we're.
Yeah, bro. Wait, let me wrap this podcast up and then we'll chat. All right, sure, Billy. Thanks for chatting today. And I don't know how to end a podcast, bro. I'll just stop recording. Sure, bro.
Sure, bro. Man.